Hey crafty friends, it's Annie from Vintage Lace Journal, and today I'm here with a junk journal make. Now I've got some very exciting news. I have been accepted to be a design team member for the Junk Journal Studios, so I'm absolutely thrilled to be working with them. I've just got into the world of digitals. I love the things they do, so as soon as I saw their call out, I was like, yep, love to be part of their team, and really blessed that they chose me. So thank you to them. And this is going to be my first project using some of their kits. Now this one is from the Etsy shop, which I'll link below, and this is called Fall Bounty Kit, and I've used kits 3 and 1 in this. I've also used all things fall, but like I said, I'll link all of those things below, so you'll be able to get your hands on these lovely goodies. So I've chosen some of the papers from these kits. Lovely autumn themes. We're coming to that time of the year, even though in the UK it's absolutely scorching at the moment. So these are some of the background pages I'm going to be using in my journal. And as you can see, the images on there are absolutely stunning, perfect for this time of years. I love anything mushrooms, so that's a good one. Beautiful bird on this one as well, absolutely loved that image. And then this is the kit 3, lots and lots of mushrooms to be fussy cut. Again, kit 3, so I've got some pockets on here, some tags, some little journal cards, and these lovely numbers, all in those lovely oranges and autumn colours again there. Some more little tickets and tabs there. And then I've got some, I can't think of the word, my brain's gone blank, tags. There we go, tags to go obviously in the pockets. And these lovely little tickets, I just love these little free pass with these little autumn fall fair tickets. And there's some stamps and some buttons. And another one of those journal pages. So, I am, as always, going to be using junk for my junk journal. And I'm going to be making the package, the cover with an old Amazon package. So I'm going to create this to make my cover. I've also got, I'm going to be using in with those journal pages, is a prescription bag, some coffee dyed paper, and some coffee dyed old music paper. So they're going to form the pages of my junk journal. I've also got, look at this, amazing lace. I went to my local haberdashery. They sell curtains, and they had this big bag full of old lace bits they were selling off. So yeah, got lots of lovely new lace, which made me very happy. Also, I found these. These were from my local range, and these are beautiful, all different coloured leaves, like in a kind of like a plasticky material, I suppose. But yeah, they'll look lovely in with these lovely digitals. So there's some of the things I'm going to be using today. So let's pop these papers out of the way for now. And bring in our Amazon packaging. Now, because these papers are, I've printed them on A4, and I've just printed these onto regular copy paper. I've actually bought myself 2 new things. One is my craft mat, which I've been wanting a bigger craft mat for ages, and I finally got myself on that. So this is a lovely A2 craft mat. And the second thing I've actually bought myself is a laser printer, and it's one of the best things I've ever done. Images before, I tried to print these out, and it wasn't great at all. I kept getting this big white border. Yeah, so I wasn't impressed. And as you can see, the difference in that is just fantastic. So yeah, treated myself. So these images are roughly 11.5 inches by 8 inches. So I'm going to make my journal cover 7.5 inches long and 5.5 inches wide. So let's just bring in my trimmer. Okay, so I'm just going to do this in 2 parts, because I know my trimmer will not take all that cardboard. So I'm just going to come from this edge. I'm just going to come in about 1/8 of an inch, just a little bit. But when I measure out my 5.5, no, 7.5. Not that way, is it? 5.5 this way. It's been a while since I made a journal. So 5.5. And again, measure on the back, 5.5. So I'll just trim that first. And pop that down. One side and the other. go. So that will now measure 5.5 across and 7.5 inches down. Now when I do this, I don't want these big thick bits of the packaging on, so I'm actually going to start here. I'm going to cut that off first and then just re-measure just to make sure I have got that in the right place. Actually, I'll just bring that in now and I can use my ruler on here. So turn that around because I want to cut off this edge. So 7.5 down. There we go. So that's made my journal cover. Pop those out of the way. Now I was thinking, bring these papers. I'm hoping I'm going to choose this one to go on the outside because I quite like the mushroom part at the bottom. So because my journal cover is 7.5 by 5.5, I want my papers, or my papers inside, to measure 7.25, so it gives that little bit of room at the top and the bottom, by 10.5. But the journal cover itself, I'm going to try and get as close to the edge as possible. I'm not going to put anything else on this because this is a nice thick card anyway. I'm just going to cover up the back and the front with these papers because I printed them onto copy paper, but that'll be absolutely fine to go straight onto here. So I'm just thinking about where it's got the black right up to the edge. All I do is bring in a sanding block and just take that off. So if you just lightly sand, that just rubs those paper fibres away. There we go, and you don't have that on them anymore. So I'm just going to bring in my glass mat and I'm going to ink all the way around the edge of the outside and of the inside so I can put my papers straight onto here. And I'm going to use vintage photo because it's nice and dark. So just coming straight in, and it doesn't need to be neat because obviously I'm now going to cover a lot of this. It's just to neaten up those edges. So go around this. It just takes that cardboardy look away. My bracelet bashing on my glass mat. So I've been itching to get my craft stuff out. Back to work this week, so obviously I work at a school, so the children have all been back this week, so it's been super busy. So today's been the first time I've really had a chance to get my craft on, which has been lovely. There we go. So just thinking down that spine, because obviously that spine will be seen, because I'm not going to cover that with anything. Right, so I'm going to, as I said, use this paper here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just trim off this white border. And obviously I don't want to lose much of this image at all. So once you've cut off the bottom and top edges, I'm just going to take this bracelet off because it keeps catching. And I'm going to end up breaking it. Excuse me. So once I've done those corners there, I'm just going to line that up. And I'm just going to mark with a pencil just where I need to be trimming on the top. Which is just about there. And just on that edge there. And obviously it'll be the same on both sides. So I can trim this top edge first. Let's just put that down the bottom. I was going to put some orange card underneath, but actually I don't really think it needs it. It's just going to look lovely as it is. There we go. All I might do is just ink around the edges of this paper. Just bring in my trusty acrylic block. It's one of those things where you get a new piece of equipment like my mat and I don't actually want to get it dirty now. Just looks nice. there for show. Well, how many papers do you have that you don't want to use? I've got them beautiful paper. I mean, these are just gorgeous. Having to then cut them up and use them is always so sad. But the good thing about digital kits is once you've bought it and downloaded it, you can print off as many copies as you like, which is fabulous. There we go. Let's give them that bit of ink, and I'm just going to pop that on with some Collal all-purpose glue, just a wet glue, just to make sure that really sticks to the fibres of this card, because Amazon packaging is quite fibrous, so you need a wet glue for it to stick well. And making sure that those edges get lots of glue on, because they're the places that will lift. Okay, so make that, give that a bit of a wiggle so that really takes. How beautiful is that? So I'm going to obviously embellish this part up here as well. So that's my front cover done, and the spare part I had left over, which is this part here. I'm just going to trim that border off again. And just make sure I've got the measurements right. So again, bringing paper in. I know it's right at the top because obviously this was one we cut from the front. So I just need to cut a little strip off just there. So put that in my trimmer. And trim down. And again, just going to ink around those edges. Everyone loves the ink look. There we go. So wet glue that on at the back, and that's our cover completed. Well, I say completed, I'm going to come back and embellish it. Now, lots of glue around the edges. And line that up. It's a good thing about wet glue, you get that kind of wiggle room. So front cover and back cover. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inside cover, and I'm just going to use exactly the same method. I'm going to choose, I think I'm going to have these leafy pattern. So I know I want the to be 7 1/4 down. I'm just going to trim that side. And that side. And then just cut that white trim. Just make sure that's lined up. There. And then on the other side, I'm actually going to, I want this writing, can you see on here I've got that writing, so I'm going to actually just trim that white border off, so I'd rather have that part of the design on my page. So I'm just going to trim this middle part off instead. There we go. I'm actually actually think I'm just going to actually just leave these plain. I'm not going to ink around the edge of these because I think the colours where it comes off the leaves is quite pretty actually as it is. So wet glue again. That's my front. And give that a good push down so it really gets into those fibres. Makes a good bond. And same on the back. These colours are just glorious, real autumny colours. We get a few trees in the UK that become kind of like orangey. That not many, not the glorious oranges and reds you see in other countries. There we go, and pop that one on the back. So make sure that one just then lines up with this page. There we go. So that's inside and outside cover done. Now I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. So I'm going to go on to making the inside pages for the journal. So to have a quick tidy up. So like I said, I'm going to make my pages, I'm going to bring these back in, 7 1/4 by 10. So 7 1/4 is obviously going to be the inside part of the journal, so it's less than this, which is 7.5, so it's just 1/4 of an inch left that way and 1/4 of an inch left that way, because when you start to build your papers up and put them inside each other's, that does bulk out. And because it's only a one file, I am just going to do one signature inside of there. Okay, so it's just going to be a one signature. So I think I've got these two left. And a beautiful bird. So now I'm going to cut those down to start off with. The rest of these are all my kind of embellishment parts. I'll just put them to one side. I'm going to do these one at a time just because I want to make sure I get the measurements really careful. Now, quick tip when you do these, if you're cutting a piece of paper with a design on it and it's got a white border all the way around, just try and think about what part you're going to want to actually be left with. It might not be as easy as just cutting the border off. What I tend to do is cut the border off on two sides first and then measure up kind of like where I want it, if that makes sense. So on this pattern, I'm going to just cut the bottom bit off. And then, because this side has got, it's plainer than obviously this side, which I'm going to want to keep. So I'm just going to cut this white border off this side. So I'm going to try and keep as much of that as I can. Okay, so now when I measure, I don't mind trimming off most of my trim from this side, because obviously the pattern part is the really bit I want to keep. So I'm going to cut this at 10 1/2. So 10 1/2. Being really careful with my measurements today. You know, I like to chop things randomly. And then obviously this way it's going to be 7 1/4. So 7 1/4. And before you cut it, just have a look. Is that what I want to take off? Can I take a bit more off the bottom? Because obviously I've got this word at the top here. And if I cut there, I think it just trim it off. But I could use that somewhere else in the project, so it's not too bad. So 7 1/4 is, so although it's chopped that word off, I could use that somewhere else. All right, so now I know when I fold this, that's another thing to mention as well, I am going to back these. I didn't want to I forgot to coffee dye them before I printed on them, and if you try and coffee dye after you've printed on a digital kit, it affects the ink and the images on the other side. I have done it before. Let's find it. Like this one here, I printed it, you probably can't see it, but where I coffee dyed on the back, this all came through anyway, but it really distorted the writing. So if you're going to use coffee dye paper on your backs, coffee dye the paper first and then print onto it. And that will stop any kind of like bleeding through. Now before I cut any more, I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm just going to make sure that my measurements have been correct. So that looks beautiful. So that's one side, and then you've got that lovely leaf design on the other side. So I'm just going to bring back in my journal. and I'm just going to make sure, yep, that fits in there perfectly. So now I've done one, I can do the rest of them. So I'm going to take off a bit of this leaf this side, and then turn it round to measure 10.5. And again I'm going to take a bit off this side and then turn it round, and this is 7.25. And that way you're not missing too much of the design on the border kind of sides. So obviously I want to keep the bottom of the mushrooms in there, which I have. So again, a little bit off one side, and then turn it 10.5. I'm saying this out loud just so I'm actually making sure I'm cutting this in the right place. And then, right, I don't want to obviously chop the calendar, so I'm going to take that down to roughly there. So I've still got the word calendar, and then measure that at 7.25. That's the only downside, so when you're trimming off digital images, is not, well, you have to, but not trimming off gorgeous design that somebody spent all that time making. I just love that, isn't it gorgeous? Okay, now with the coffee dye paper, I'm just going to use 2 pieces, I think. So I can just trim this down as it is, because obviously there's no design on here. So 7.25. And keep these pieces because obviously you can do stamping on here, make some stamps and things. Right, and I'm going to take a little bit off one end. No, I'm not. I'm going to just take it off. 10.5. And again, that I can use and make my own stamps, tickets and things on there. And these ones, I do believe, if I fold them, probably just need a little bit off the end. So that measures 5.5. So just need to, I'm going to fold the music sheet, then I can just cut that down to 5.25. Okay, I'm just going to have a couple of those. So fold and trim. 5.25. Okay, so let's bring all our bits and pieces back in now. So I've got the lovely images there. Fold those in half. And if you wanted to, you could obviously print these on a thicker card. If I was doing a bigger journal, obviously I could make 3 signatures as well. But I'm doing neither of those today. 2 pieces of that and 2 pieces of this. Okay, so then you're going to decide what you want where. So I'm going to have this as my very front cover on my signature. Then I'm going to do, why is that bigger than that? I haven't trimmed it down. So that needs to be 7.25. Trimmed it one way, not the other. There we go. So, signature page, and then I'm just going to grab in there, and that in there, and then have another printed page, coffee dive page, and then I'm going to pop in this, which is going to be way too big. So what I might do is just refold that along there, and just trim this bit off. There we go. So that, when I come to doing it, will be a pocket one side and an open pocket on the other side. Put that in there. It does stick out a little bit, but it doesn't matter because the journal cover, just double check, is bigger. If not, I can fold it some more. Tiny little bit off there. I'm just going to bring my trimmer in to cut that off. Hopefully now, it's always good to just keep going back, checking, making sure everything fits. You know, you don't have to do everything at once. Give that a real good burnish down because it will pop up where the original fold was. And just keep double checking. So now I know that's absolutely fine. That's not sticking out. Okay. So we have pattern paper, music paper, coffee paper, pattern paper, coffee paper, book. Now I'm going to have that and then that in the middle. And I think that's going to be enough because obviously if it gets too big you start getting these overlaps here, which is fine. You can trim that off. I won't need to for this journal because I've measured it so it will all fit inside on the edges anyway. And that's a nice size journal. By the time you then start putting your pockets and your tags and your things in any bigger than that, it will be too bulky. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. I'm going to open it back up to the middle. And this is when I'm going to come and sew this into the journal. Now, I always do my journals with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And I usually measure, I need to find out where that bag is. I might put that in the middle because I want that's going to be a pocket there, that's going to be a tuck spot, so I'm actually going to have that in the middle. That way as well I'll also know where I need to place my holes because these are all the same size. This is the only one that's actually different. There we go. So fold those in. Now I'm going to eyeball this, so centre hole and then hole there and hole there. That's roughly 3/4 of an inch from the end on both sides. I'm not going to stress too much about getting it even. It's a junk journal, it doesn't actually really matter. Lost my rubber now. Get my other rubber out here because I like to this has got no holes in it till now. So I'm going to get my pokey tool, which is very bent. I need to get a new one, and I've got all my pages together, so put my rubber underneath and pop that on, pokey tool all the way through. Oops, drop the camera, and another one there. And my last one there we go. So now I've got my 3 holes on here. Some people make templates for this. I don't. Just going to bring my journal cover back in. I'm going to take that off because that's the one that's going to be central in here. And again, just mark my holes using that. What I might actually do is pencil those on. and then just, because obviously this is where it's folded, I need to make sure that my holes are going directly into that spine. One, two, and three. There we go. So that's a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Pop that out of the way. And I've chosen this lovely orange embroidery thread. And I always like to go 1 length, 2 lengths, 3 lengths. Okay, so just thread your needle. Obviously, if you know how to do this, you've seen pamphlet stitch before, you can always fast forward this bit, or you can just have a reminder. So I'm just going to get my pages back together. And we always go in the middle hole first, so through those and through the cover. Pull that all the way through and then leave yourself a little tab part on the inside. Okay, then you're going to come back in on the top hole, top. Okay, now holding on to this part here, you're going to pull that tight and then just double check that's on the outside it's nice and straight. Then you're going to go all the way down to the bottom hole. So through and through. And again, just making sure that little bit doesn't get pulled out. Pull that all the way through, nice and tight. And then you're going to come up and back in through that middle hole. There we go. Now I always do mine when I pull my holes through. It's just now straighten up your papers again, make sure they're all where you want them to be. Mine's slightly shifted up, so I'm just going to pull that down and then just pull everything nice and tight. Okay, so I've got one of my strings one side of this bit down the middle, one on the other. Take out your needle and then just tie that off. And I always tie it just twice. Once, twice, 3 times, lady. And there we go. We have our junk journal made with our beautiful digital kit. So the next part of my video is going to be obviously now playing with the inside. So I've got that beautiful image on the front. I'm going to put a pocket on these leaves here. So I'm going to bring this kit in, and I've got this lovely pocket, and it's got the tab bits on it. So when you cut this out, you then score down the outside line, and this bit will then fold in. So I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this out. This is my favourite part. It's quite a quick journal to make when you make it this way, with old packaging. It doesn't take too long, and it's lovely. Now the embellishment part, that's the fun part. And there's so many bits to choose from in these kits. It's just lots and lots. There's actually an embellishment kit as well. I'll link them all. So on here, I haven't cut. My cutting skills aren't great. It doesn't matter. That's now going to be folded behind. Now, like I said, you can actually score these, or you can just obviously take your tab over and just fold it like that. So score it down there, fold again, I always run along with my finger, and then one at the bottom. It might have been better to score that, but I know exactly where the line was. Never mind. There we go. I'm just going to ink this as well, just to lift the pocket. So I was going to bring back in my distress ink. and just come down that top edge. And along the sides and the bottom. There we go. So that's going to be glued directly onto the journal there. I'll use my tacky glue. So I know this will give a nice strong bond. So making sure it's just lining up with the page of the journal you've stuck in, the backing paper. Pocket there. And then to go with that, because it's a nice big page, I've got this lovely, my printer has actually cut part of this off because it's actually got a black border all the way around that. The trouble is as well, I think I need to actually speak to Michelle. I'm thinking because I'm UK, I'm not sure whether it's because my printer settings might be different or page settings might be different, because obviously Junk Journal is from a different country, so it might just be me trying to sort my settings out. So I'm just going to trim this down. I'm actually going to back this onto some card as well. Not card, I've got some more packaging, because I think packaging is one of the biggest things to use up. We all get like these packages all the time with lots of things stuffed inside it, and it's just great paper to use for this type of thing. So got that beautiful tag there to go inside the pocket. So I've got some huge big sheet of this. This just came in an order. So I'm just going to take my tag and I'm going to glue this down onto this. And this also gives a nice journaling space on the back for people to write, and it also strengthens, because I've done my printing on copier paper, it also strengthens that as well. There we go. So pop that down. I'm going to put it right on the edge so there's less to cut. There we go. And then just cut that out. So that's nice brown on the back now. It's strengthened that card as well. Okay. So that's still a bit wet at the minute, right? It's bent up. Okay. Just going to get something to put on the top of here, and I like to staple. You can cut holes in if it was a tag. I'm just going to get some of this paper again, fold it over. I might actually make a tab instead. Change my mind. So put glue on both sides. And then lift it slightly higher and then glue down. Just making sure it's straight. Okay, so that's created a little tab to go in there. So this page obviously I'm going to leave as it is because it's just absolutely beautiful. Now this page is obviously white because I didn't coffee dye it, so I'm just going to bring in my acrylic block and my distress ink. So first of all I'm going to go around the edges. I'm going to bring it quite far down. So as I do the edge, keep bringing it down. So there'll only be a small part in the middle that's then not got any of that ink on it. So that's one way if you don't want to coffee, because some people don't like the smell of coffee dye paper either. It can be quite strong. So really go those edges first. And then with this part of my sponge, I'm just going to bring that right up to the edge. And come round on the inside. Okay, and then just very lightly you can go over the page. And it's given it that kind of like coffee dyed look without the smell and the time and things. Okay, so this page here, let's have a little look through my kit. So I think I might do a side pocket on here. So I'm going to take some of my sheet music and me thinking out loud here now. Yeah, I'm going to create a pocket with this. I'm going to use that side because it's got the music on it to the edge. So I want it to be about a third of the way in. So just put a little mark on there and on there. Create this little pocket. I thought I'd cut the mark off then. So just on the edges, pop some glue. Go. And pop that down on there. Again, it's good to get that wiggle room, just make sure it's really stuck down. Then I'm going to use one of these larger tags, and again I'm going to put that onto some thicker card this time. So again, I've got my trusty Amazon packaging, so I'm just going to, which one to use? I think I'm going to use the mushroom one because it goes in with the rest of the theme. So these tags are from the All Things Fall kit. So you see I've written it on the bottom to remind myself. Okay. So just carefully cutting this out to create a tag. I'll pop some glue on. And again, when you're sticking things down onto any packaging, try and use the corners and edges. Then it's just one less part for you to have to cut. Okay. And then again, I'm just going to trim this down. So you can see it's a lovely thick card. So don't ever throw away your packaging. Use it, keep it. I've got a box in my craft from just a cardboard box. That I'd use it all the time for craft, for tags. It's amazing, and all like backing things like this. Okay, so I'm going to just pop a little dot, again eyeballing that it's in the right place, and then I'm going to pop in an eyelet. So cut my hole. I'm going to go for a nice rose gold because that's going to fit in with the theme. Pop that in there. And squish. There we go. I'm just going to use some twine, and it keeps it in with a kind of like rustic feel of the autumn album. So fold that in half, pop the folded end through, and pull through those tails. There we have our next page. And okay, on this one, let's have a little look, see what we've got. It's getting to be a bit of a mess over here now. I think I might use these as like a corner tuck spot. I'm just going to cut along the black line. Okay, and I am again just going to stick this down on some packaging because it's obviously only copier paper. It just needs to be just a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to tear a bit of that off just to make it a little bit more, give it a bit more strength to put things in and out of. So sticking that down. And again, because it's packaging, you know, you don't feel like you're spending lots of money, wasting lots of money on backing papers and things, because it's free. There we go. So I'm just going to bring, like I said, make that a little corner tuck. So I'm just going to glue down bottom and just along this edge here. Just hold that for a couple of seconds just so that takes, it's tacky glue so it doesn't take too long. And there we go. And then decide what we're going to pop in it. So I think I might use, put a few things inside here. And again, these little tickets are fabulous for any kind of project. You just want to build up some backing, you know, and you layer kind of things up. Free admission. And as always, when I think most crafters, when they're on here making the videos, are kind of just like winging it as they go along. Little free admission. And I think at the top of here, I might put one of these lovely stamps. See what size would be best. Some middly size one. Just to give a bit of interest on the blank, well, not blank paper page, but just going to ink that just to take the whiteness off the copier paper. And all these little bits, these little embellishments, the little tags, the little stamps, the little buttons, all just add interest to every page as you flick through. There you go. So again, it's just giving a little something extra to that page there. I'm going to pop my little tickets in there. I think I'll pop that one in because you can't actually see that one. I'm going to end up losing it. Okay, and then we've got another page this side. This time I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use a belly band on this one. Now, like I said, I did coffee dye some of this paper. after I'd printed it, which was my mistake, but it would be fine. I think it gives that kind of like rustic look actually. So I'm going to use that. Just doesn't do the papers justice, that's the only thing. I'm going to use that. Because with junk journals it doesn't really matter, I'm going to make that 1.5 inches. Because that's exactly what they are. They're not supposed to be prim and perfect and proper looking. There we go. So just cut that too short. And cut from there, and just again make a little mark down there. And then with the belly band, obviously you just put some glue at the top and the bottom. And I always like to just leave it just a little bit so it lifts up, so you can clearly see that that's what it's supposed to be. Just had to turn my video on because I was getting extremely hot in my craft room, so I've just had a cup of tea and I've come back. I've also just spent a good half an hour, because I was realising my video was getting so long, just backing some of these onto black cards and just prepping some stuff obviously to go on the pages, because obviously I don't want this video to really go over an hour, and obviously you don't need to see me cutting every single piece of this kit out. So what I've done is I've cut some pieces out, so I'm just going to start popping these on the pages now. So with this nice blank page here, I've created a pocket. So just put this onto card, because obviously I printed onto copier paper. It was quite thin and flimsy, so this bit here is quite thin. So what I've done for the rest of the things throughout this book is obviously back them onto some just like thicker, it's not card, it's kind of like a heavy duty paper stock, like very lightweight paper cardstock. So I've just done that because it was going to take way too long to do every single bit of this on camera. So all I'm going to do now is, with the pieces I've just obviously put together, I'm just going to put the rest of the journal together with you guys. You can see what kind of pieces I've done. So on this page here, I'm going to put a pocket. So just popping that down at the end. And I've also created lots of tags with the kit as well. And so obviously this one came from, no it didn't, where did I put that one? I put a piece of lace across this very first journal card on there. Then I've got this mushroom one, and again with all my tags I've backed them onto card and just popped some twine through the top. That's just a little bit long popping out of there, so I'm just going to trim that down. And then I've got some little things, other little pieces of ephemera, and the reason why I've just done all this off camera is because it takes too long. I'm just going to decorate these pages up as I go along. So because that's quite a blank page there, just going to pop that there. And just on the bottom of here, I'm going to pop one of those little labels. It's really good if you have sticky paper, you can obviously, or labels, you can print directly onto those. You can get A4 paper that's got a sticky backing on it. That's quite a good thing to do. So that's that page there. And I've got another blank one here. Let's have a little look. So I think I'm going to do another pocket. So these are the ones with the tabs on the bottom. So again, I've just popped this onto some stronger card and fold those over. So just put lots of tacky glue on those little tabs. And this makes it easy to get things out of pockets when it's on there. And I'm going to pop that like that. So I've just got a border all the way around the edge there. Again, just hold that down just till the tacky glue takes. There we go. And as soon as that's taken, you can obviously then start to pop bits and pieces in there. So I've got these little tags here. This paper I will leave. So this is one of my lovely pattern papers. And I'm just going to put something on the back of here. So I think again on a blank one, I'm just going to pop another belly band. So piece of glue at the top. This time I've obviously again put this onto some thicker cardstock, just so it's a bit more robust when you're putting things in and out of it. Again, just wait till that holds, and then just pop your little ephemera inside. What have I got for this one? I might do that as a pocket there on the edge. So again, some glue around the edges, and just pop that on all four sides. And these cards, it can be journaling cards, make really good pockets as well. And again, we've got a little button, which I'm just going to stick in there. Okay, next blank page. So we haven't got any lace on here yet, so I think I'm just going to come in with some. I've got this nice kind of like, this is very lacy lace, vintage looking. Pop that away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lace down the side, and what I do is I run a bead of glue and I scrunch it into it, but I'm going to have it so it's slightly coming off the page, and that will give a nice look to both sides of this piece of paper though. I'm going to just turn my journal that way up because I just find it easy to scrunch from top to bottom. And I've got my hot glue gun on over here. And I'm just going to show you how I do this. So I'm going to have this lacy edge on the outside. So what I tend to do is just do this in small portions at a time. So pop some glue down, pop your lace on, and then just scrunch into it. Scrunch into that glue. Give that scrunchy effect. Okay, and then again, a bit more glue, put it down, and then scrunch it in. It's hot, so it will mind your fingers. And just that last little bit at the bottom. There we go. Just keep pushing down into that glue until that dries. And now you have that lovely scrunched effect. And that will just rub off your fingers, the hot glue. Okay, so now I'm done. So I'm going to turn that to the side. And I can just trim off the excess. You need a nice pair of sharp scissors for that part. And that gives that lovely ruffled effect on the page. Quite like that. I'm going to leave this as a blank page. So obviously that's like a journaling space. There we go. I'm obviously going to leave this as it is because it's just such a beautiful image. So I've got another, let's see how many I've got on here. So I'm going to do another little pocket on this one. Just got to get that large bit of glue off my finger. So again, just go down your three sides of your card. There we go. Now I'm just going to bring in some of those leaves just for this page while my hot glue gun's on. So I'm going to layer up just a few of these in the corner. Quite like that. So a little bit of glue. And let's push those down just so that takes with the glue. Oh, like that. Let's pop those back out of the way. Again, just pop a little tag in there. I've got 2 layers left. I'm going to leave this one blank. I'm going to put something on there, but I haven't got anything in there just at the moment I wanted to put on. I've cut some things out of this page here. So what I did, if you remember, I cut a part of this prescription bag off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this into a little tuck spot. But before I do that, I've cut some paper that goes across the whole inside of this, and I've made this actually the same size because I didn't really want any of the paper bags showing. And because there's a fold there, I'm going to stick this down and then obviously fold it across there. So I'm just going to come in with my, hopefully this is not blocked up, my large tacky glue, because it's a bigger space, a bigger area to sort of glue. I think that is blocked up. I'll use my other Collal tacky glue. And so I'm going to cover all of the back of this in the glue. And again, always making special care to do those edges, because that's where your paper is going to lift from. And then just blobs in the middle. Okay, so this is going to go on the whole of that background. So I'm just going to pull that out and line this end up first. So just give that a real good push down at that take before we fold the page. So now that's taken, obviously think about where your fold is going to go and just bring that across. And then give that a real big push down for that to then crease. So that then creates our outside. And I'm going to cover up this gorgeous image, which is quite sad. So what I'm going to do here is make this into a pocket. So I'm just going to glue this edge here and glue this edge here, and then just bring that across to take there. Okay, so once we've done that, I've cut out an image to go on this part here. So again, just popping down some tacky glue. Paper bags are wonderful to work with. I often keep these in prescription bags, so when we get from anything from our chemist or drugstore, it comes in a paper bag, and they're just brilliant to use as little projects. They create little pockets and things. So just pop that on there. I've got a slight bit of the green showing through, but I don't mind that. And then what I've done from the sheet of all the mushrooms, I've just fussy cut some of those mushrooms out. I grab hold of it, it's gone underneath. And I've just popped some foam pads on the back of here. Now this will lift it up from that background to give this part some dimension. So I'm going to put my biggest one down there. Another little fiddly job to do is taking the backs off little foam pads. There we go. And then that one's going to come in the foreground, so just overlapping on that one there. And then the tiny little one. There was 3 of these in the same kind of pattern. Fiddly. There we go. And I'll just pop that one on this side there. And then I did cut out a label to go with that. It's probably now disappeared. Just cut another one out. Easier. It's the trouble when I don't know about you guys, but I just put my scissors down and then they're just suddenly not there. Oh, they're right next to me. Okay, so this is quite a dark brown colour, so I'm going to use a dark brown on here. So there's loads of these lovely labels. I usually, when I have some spare time, just sit and watch telly or a programme, just fussy cut these out, put them in a little pot, and then they're always there ready when you need them. Pop that there, just in that little blank space. There we go. So that's created our little pocket in there, and I've got this nice little deer to go in that way. Should I put them in that way, or should I put this in there? That doesn't fit, so we will. I think it's going to get lost now. I'm going to put something else in there another while. Okay, now the front of the paper bag. So this has now created obviously another pocket here. That's the top of the bag where it opens. Oh, that's just caught with the glue there. So that opens up, and that can be a tuck spot in there. And what I've done for the front of here is I've cut out this beautiful owl image, and that's just going to pop on the front there. I'm going to need to stock up on some glue next. Now that won't fit directly on the front of that bag. There. Absolutely beautiful. What I'm going to do is just to show that there's a pocket there, I'm just going to get my 1-inch punch and just go through that with just a tiny little notch there. So we can just clearly see that's now a pocket. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to now glue this back of this bag, because I don't want to decorate the back of this. I'm going to create another pocket on this side. So I'm just going to run some glue just down this edge and this edge. And just hold that down, and that will create a side pocket on the paper bag. There we go. And it's going to pop a tag in the side there. Okay, coming to the back, nearly finished. It's taken a bit of time. So the back journal page, I know on the back I'm going to put a pocket the same as the front here, so I'll go and do that next. So again, just back this with some thicker card, or you can obviously print your, which I'm going to do. I'm going to order some just lightweight cardstock, because I think that's going to be better to print pockets and tags and things directly onto, rather than have to back them like this. Okay. Let's hold that down so it doesn't pop up. And again, the mushroom theme and the autumn theme running through this one. These are the papers that, this is why I haven't printed the whole kit. I've actually chosen kind of like the mushroom theme all the way through mine, and obviously the leaves as well, which I think looks lovely. Just going to pop that in there. That one leave as it is. And I think these blank pages, I've got a couple more pockets to go. So I'll pop one on there. Oops. The thing is, with the UK, we're not used to having days of heat when we're not on holiday. There we go. So it's rather warm today. I'm going to pop that there. And then again, I'm just going to put one of these little tickets at the top of the page, just as an interest to the eye. And that side. And I'm going to leave this one blank for journaling. Obviously that's got our lovely image. I'm thinking that's I will, this, obviously I haven't printed off enough stuff, but I will actually complete this completely and then do a quick flip through on my Instagram channel, which I'll link below, because you don't need to see me do all of this. These pages are better to have your things on, and you can obviously leave these, oh gosh, you can leave these coffee dyed papers for journaling on, but I will come back and I'll obviously add some more bits to this when I've got some more things ready to go in. I don't want to bore you for too long. I do worry about doing really long videos, because obviously there's a lot to take in on a video, but you can always fast forward the bits you know about. There we go. And I've got another little tag just for in there. Now on the back page, I was going to put some more lace, but I think because I put that pocket there, I won't do that there. So I think on this page here, I've got this lovely thicker lace, and I'm just going to put that down as a strip. So I'm just going to straighten that top edge. I'm just going to cut that just there. And then again, just bringing that out just a little bit. I might just put that on the edge of the page like that, and that again will have a little bit of interest sticking out of the page. So if I think I need to come just down here, there we go, and just pop that straight over the top. I think when you're using hot glue, just to get fingers of steel. Oh, that's worked out really well. That's just below that circle there as well at the bottom. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so like I said, I have got more to do to this, and obviously the front cover I'll need to do as well. But I will come back and do a flip through video just to show you all the things I've done. So you can see that lovely lace sticking out the side there, and we've got that piece of lace showing out the back. But obviously I'm conscious of time, me waffling on for too long. So I will be finishing this off camera, and then I will do a flip through video both on here and on Instagram and on the Junk Journal Studios Facebook fans page. So thank you all for watching this video. Please do go and have a look at the Junk Journal Studio over on Etsy. This kit is just absolutely stunning. Obviously it's a couple of kits here, but honestly I just think it's just absolutely stunning. The images in here are just amazing, absolutely gorgeous. So I'll see you soon again with a flip through of my Junk Journal. Take care everybody, bye.